Welcome everybody to our, I was just thinking, what months do we have? September meetup, where we are going to talk about the future of Agile. Sure, that's a big topic, I think. Hey, Bevan?
Yeah, it's definitely the most popular topic that's come up in the industry since Agile died. So,
Since Agile died, yeah. What I'm curious to hear in the chat, what question pops to your mind if we talk about the future of Agile? What do you want us to talk about today? So take a moment in the chat, so we have some guidance for us.
The subscriber number
Any questions?
is currently busy. The subscriber number is currently busy.
which subscriber number?
Sorry for that. I had to open the gate. Let's will AI replace Scrum Master? Sure, that's such a good step in. That's actually a topic I've been speaking a lot about lately. Now, done. I actually think, Bevan, that question is actually bloody well into if we build onto what is existing Agile role, Agile coach, Scrum Master look like in the near future. What additional training do we need to prepare for future? Yeah, that's actually all go hands in hand. Hey, what come to my mind, like why I think one of the thing why we're here today and talk about the future of Agile, two things, right? So if you've been in our community on LinkedIn, you've seen for many years now it's been Agile is dead. And then we try to say no, it's not. And then AI hit. And then we see people on LinkedIn, especially now Agile is definitely dead. But is it? I think let's first look at AI. The stats that just also came out, I think it is very interesting from ChatGPT. Firstly, AI right now is just a tool. It is not a human. Now, secondly, why I'm saying it's interesting about the stat, because the newest stat actually shows that the decline of people using it starts to see. So the hype, they already start thinking we have reached the hype and it's going backwards now. That, like, sure, I can't wait to follow those numbers because that's true.
Yeah, there was an interesting, just on that, I read an interesting article about one of the senior guys at OpenAI that did a research. And interestingly enough, the majority use case is actually personal. So I think it was just a high 20% of use cases or questions asked through ChatGPT was business related. And of those, more than half were on fix my writing. So obviously I'm not filling up the major percentage with my number one use case, which is how do I do this in Excel? And then having to say Excel for Mac, because otherwise
I'm definitely part of that. Fix my writing. That's my top thing.
Yeah.
What I do. Let's maybe dig a big deeper. Let's not just focus on AI as a whole. I think so. Bevan, I know you and me have had conversation lately along the way because we have many people reaching out to us saying, "Oh, is Agile dead? What's happening?" We have also seen through the world a lack of Agile roles on LinkedIn and out there open. But what's interesting on me saying that, like I might put a lot of things together right now. What I say is last year, or even so, all industry has been struggling. So if you go again back to LinkedIn stats, it is not just for Agile roles, it's for all roles, right? We saw a big layoff around the world for IT people in general. So because of the whole world economy, we have seen everybody struggling. We actually start seeing now a turn in that because now the struggle have become the norm. What happens, right? If we can't fix the problems in the world, it becomes the norm. So now people are saying, no, but even though the world is burning, we still have to work. So we actually, again, also, I was actually looking into the stats in LinkedIn, and we start to see more Agile roles again back in LinkedIn. That's quite interesting. One thing that have stood out for me, and I mentioned also to you, Bevan, is this whole thing. Is this thing about Agile is dead? is it ourselves in our community saying it? Like, I haven't seen a CEO post on LinkedIn, I think Agile is dead. All these posts come for Agile coaches often, right? Or Scrum Masters. So, Ben, I think you missed when we talk about a lot of companies replacing people with AI. Yeah, but are they? Bevan, I want to take the conversation we had the other day, but let's maybe park that. But if you remember the whole thing about the challenge of, let's pause AI for now. We know it's a challenge, but Agile was a challenge already before AI. So if we go back to that, what are we actually, what was the challenge with, like, if you already have challenges with Agile, now AI comes, right? AI is not the silver bullet either.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I go back as far as I can remember, any trend when it comes to, that influences businesses from what am I buying from consultants? It's always all about delivery. So why is there this massive uptick of AI? Because there was this promise, real or not, that AI was going to make everyone more productive, right? Why do large organizations bring Scrum Masters in but don't actually really want to work in an agile way? Why? Because in their heads, it's going to increase delivery and productivity, which for a business perspective is always going to be, quite useful. You think about lean, you think about waterfall, all of these things and project management in general is, how do I get the most bang for my buck and actually deliver so I can make more money and, delight some customers along the way. And that's why for me, like agility, the problem that agility was set out to solve hasn't yet been solved. There are organizations that still haven't solved what's the most effective manner of delivering value. Organizations that have been on agile transformations for years are still seeing a decline in market share, etc., because new, smaller organizations that are more nimble are able to respond to the rapidly increasing technology rate, than the larger companies are. So, I mean, I like to joke around and say that if an organization failed their agile transformation, they're going to fail their AI transformation as well. Because everything about AI requires quick adaptability. So unless you build that into the core, you're going to get tripped up by the same things that tripped up your agile transformation and your digital transformation and everything else. So when it comes down to like the roles, is the role dead? Well, no, the title's dead, but it should never have been a title in the first place, right? I mean, if we go to basics, it talks about roles previously, and then even shifted to accountabilities. You don't need to have a title to do the work, right? And I think that for me is kind of the positive reframe that like I've really enjoyed, is to say that, and I think when you asked that question was, will the Scrum Master role become more skill set instead of a role? Yes. And I think that's what it should have been from the beginning, right? Is that it's focusing on a skills-based economy instead of a title-based economy. And I think that if we look at that essence, then yes, there will always be value in Scrum Mastery. There will always be value in product ownership. And there'll always be value in project management. So again, like that's kind of where my head circled around there.
Can I challenge you a little bit though, Bevan?
Absolutely.
Because I think
everyone else too as well, because everyone's got an opinion, and I don't have data to back mine up. So
I kind of agree with you, but I think that's the dream world. Why I'm saying so is because we can't even get it when we, like, what I've seen through the years is back to, there's a comment here, are we focusing too much on the framework rather than using the framework to deliver efficiently? So I was lately with all the clients I work with, I'm like so amazed about how I get asked. I get a lot of requests right now. We get requests of saying, come and tell us how agile we are. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And all they have in those companies has in their head is, do we do stand-up? Do we have user stories? Do we have backlogs? It's a checkbox, right? But they haven't changed the underlying stuff. So I dig a lot into why is this? Why is it we go to the framework? And it's back because the way our brain works, we like solution. We like something easy. You're here today, you need to do it this way. So following a framework is the easy part of that. Changing how you work is the most difficult part. So what I've actually been wondering lately is how do we help these companies without getting stuck in a framework? Because for me, most companies do Scrum, but they don't do Agile. So I like to say you can do Agile without Scrum, you can do Scrum without Agile, but that's really micromanaging.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with you on that because I mean, like we always talk about the spine model, and I like to use that inverted triangle to say, you know, intention goes down, but action goes up. So like you can't think your way to a complex problem, right? You can't think your way through agility. So coming downwards, what determines practices and tools should come from on top. But when you actually change behaviors, you need to go bottom up as well. So that, and I think that's a nice thing what you were saying with like the actual framework. If you pick a framework, understand why you're using it, but you almost need to assess on the need, not on the how well are we doing on the tools or the practice, because then that becomes your need or your outcome that you're aiming for. Yeah.
So when we go into that, and then why I brought that up when you say the Scrum Master role should maybe not be there. Yeah, but the problem is if we don't make these boxes, it's even more difficult to actually for companies to change. But what we need to do, so I want to go a little bit more back and actually attacking Agile a little bit. So I had a lot of you know Antoinette. I had a great conversation with Antoinette. For those of you that doesn't know her, she's a very big Agile person here in South Africa. She was, me and her had actually this conversation. What is the future of Agile? And one thing I was raising in that conversation was, but have we failed Agile? Have we, as those that implement Agile, failed it? Have we? So we talk specific about training. What's the future of training? And I said, is it because our training is not good enough in the sense of we actually only train high level often? And you actually, so there was the comment, right? What's the next course I need to do? To do this, like the level I am on today, I was not for 5 years ago. And if I think back of something I did for 5 years ago, I'm like, why did you do that, Malene? You shouldn't have done that. You were like a junior there, right? And the other part of me is so annoying when a senior is like, oh, you need to wait until you get experience. I'm like, oh, don't record that. I'm like, why is that? So I have this conflict in me because now I, of course, know more than I did back then. But my little me is like, no, don't recognize that. Where I'm coming from here is saying, can we start realizing that this is bloody difficult? And when I then have to dig down to what is the root cause, so I do a lot of training, of course, and every time I sit in these, I basically just want to look at these people and say, just forget about it, you're never going to do it. Sorry, this is me being bloody honest. Because if we truly look into Agile, right, and I like to make the example of saying, we are still stuck in an industrial way of working. It's meaning all our companies are structured around you walk in, you have to do your job in the hour, right? It's made for doers. If I think about Agile, is this how do we create an environment for the brain? So we have the joke, right? If you mean people, say people, but it's actually so profound, that saying. Because high level, it sounds like, you silly, it's just a word. No, it's actually about we haven't yet understood how we empower a human to work. We think we have by putting in sprints, but we haven't, because you still want people to be there from 4 to 7 or from 4 to 5, whatever, right? And work in the evening also, because we're in the meeting the whole day. So it's not sustainable. And I think it was to you, Bevan, we had a conversation quite some time ago where I said, imagine a world where we just had to work 2 hours. And both of us stopped up and was like, nah, wait a minute. Our brain is stuck to the 40 hours, right? What if we could just do our value in 2? It's about output and outcome. We are still too stuck as a company, as a human in output, which meaning we don't change the way we work into a most outcome focused. We also then come into AI saying, well, if everybody still treats us as a robot, yes, then AI can take over. Because if you can tell somebody what to do, then you can tell AI how to do it. So I think the success of Agile comes down to, can we start figure out how we create roles for the human and the power of human?
Yeah.
When we then say that, I want to hand out to you, Bevan, right? Because if we think about it like that, what is then our role as Agile coaches or Scrum Masters?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what you were saying there just remind me of the, like, if you think of like a sense-making thing, like a Cynefin or whatever it is, anything that Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, well, technically any role that does that's complicated, AI can assist in that. And it actually does quite well to do that because it helps you accelerate through that process. The moment we hit into complexity, AI isn't real AI, right? So it hallucinates, right? It hallucinates more than humans do. So you actually do need to be able to probe. And I think the link back to our roles and our skills as, do we need this dedicated role? Well, if it helps an organization understand what you're there for, you're still, even if you have a very well-known title, going to have to explain to people what you do and try and see how far your expectations and their expectations are away. But from a skills-based perspective, it's being able to look at it like patterns, right? So that's I've been using that a lot lately, is to say, is that what pattern are we sensing? Have we experienced something similar? What can we experiment on? What are we trying? And that's kind of the language you want to see, is that if you know that the world of delivery is complex, then all that you can observe are not necessarily, this is the core problem. It's what is the pattern I'm seeing? And yeah, I mean, you can look at things like, is this organization, currently set up for governance or speed of delivery? What do they want to be? Kind of both, right? Maybe there's a blend in the middle, right? Maybe there's a blend in the middle. Are they set up for efficiency or innovation? What's more important to them? And I think the moment that Agilists start looking beyond, that, and realizing that for us to meet an organization where they are means that we actually need to know what those patterns look like. And then actually take them through that journey, as opposed to, just saying, hey, this worked at this other company, we're going to do it the same way. Instead of saying, I've seen this pattern before. This is what it worked at the other place. Let's test it out here to see if it'll have the same result. And I think that's a very big shift away from what I've seen in a lot of Agile coaches, Scrum Masters over the years.
And that also brings us back, Bevan. I know you and me, we married to this model. For me, every time I work with coaches, companies, I'm like, I'm myself is tired of talking about Agile. I'm like, what problems do you have? I'm not here to make you Agile. I'm here to solve your problems. And can we start have that? So I even advertise myself as, I make it practical. Even today, right? I was saying to Bevan, this is a good topic, but how do we not make it fluffy? I don't like fluff. Let's stop with all the fluff. Let's stop talking about, let's talk about our feelings. Come back to that. Maybe we shouldn't have said that. It's still important though. But if it doesn't result in delivery, we're not here. And I think, so come back to what is the challenge of what you also, Bevan, actually mentioned, right? The challenge of Agile Coach Scrum Masters. We've had too many that has not been equipped good enough to do the role, and actually also haven't fully understood the role. So I see way too many do a 2-day course and then they come back and they have no coaching skill, no facilitation skills. Then we have project manager mostly that does these courses, come back. They are so busy themselves already fulfilling a project manager role. Now they also have to do a Scrum Master role. It is not the same thing. So me and Bevan, these days when we go into clients, we focus on your project manager. If you want it black and white, project manager should actually be a Scrum Master. Sorry, a product owner. Because what does your project manager do? It's time, it's scope, and it's budget. It's a product owner thing. What does your Scrum Master do? And I love those of you that has been on my training, I always use this example about a football team and the coach on the side to observe. The coach can't score, they can't deliver, but they observe the overall team to understand where are we ineffective in delivering. And I don't think we've been good enough at giving Scrum Masters or even Agile coaches tools to what does that mean?
Mm.
And lately on all my courses, I ask people, do you know an observation tool? And people are like, no. That's one of the most powerful thing you can do as a Scrum Master is to observe, but you don't have any technique to do it.
Mm.
Does that mean observing is just sitting and looking at people? No, it's not. But that's why we then cut all these things out, right? So either we have Scrum Masters, if we keep it on that level, Scrum Masters that's too busy being a project manager, or what I've seen is we have Scrum Masters that, let me talk how you're feeling. Sorry, I'm putting it a little bit into two buckets now. And every retrospective, right, Bevan, is about, oh, what should we stop? And what can we do better?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a nice fun like thought exercise as well, just because it came into my head while we were talking, and it's to say, because Agile's pretty much in that late majority kind of part of the curve, the what do you call it, product adoption curve. I very rarely come across someone that has nothing about, hey, cool, I gave a thumbs up somehow. I very rarely come across organizations that don't know what Agile is or have not experienced some form of it somewhere. And the thing then is that they're going to be applying their own patterns to that as well. So one of the first conversations whenever I join a space or join a team or join a thing is to say, when you hear Agile coach, what are your expectations? So when you hear Agile coach, what are you making up? What are you inferring? What is your brain jumping to? What has your experience been? And in most large organizations, the answer is very consistent. Project managers drive delivery, right? They are there, they're visible, there's, they chase things along, there's, Agile coaches, what do? We sit back and we're like a guru and we, to Malene's point, we talk about feelings. And again, it's that if that's the perception that's coming through from an organization, it's no wonder that, we've kind of ended up in this space, right? Where people are like, oh, we just replace you with a ChatGPT or whatever, Copilot. And that's not to say that it's all them, right? Looking at it a lot more holistically, it's also most Scrum Masters, RTEs have never been given the environment to actually fulfill their role because their box has been determined by assumptions. So is there a need for us to work with organizations to understand the unlocking of the skill sets underlying these roles? Absolutely. Do we still get called Agile coaches? Well, it depends on the organization, right? So there is still demand for Agile coaches. I mean, you can just go on LinkedIn and search Agile coach. Maybe not in South Africa, but as much, but overseas, it's incredibly, incredibly popular because they have a very, very clear understanding of what they want from an Agile coach. So it's again, what do we bundle under that thing? Sorry, short story long. What I wanted to get back down to was that whatever we called in a job or role, and actually, Leandro, your commented a point that I had quite nicely, which was you've got to start whatever role you're in. How do you become a Scrum Master? You don't get a job as a Scrum Master. You bring in Scrum Mastery, those skill sets into your thing. So, I mean, I said a lot. I don't care really what I'm called. What's important for me is that I'm able to help connect the dots between things like, human capital, human resources, the organizational development, IT, business, all those kind of things. That's where we play. So yeah, go to your companies and ask them, what are you making up when you hear the word Agile coach? What do you make up when you hear Scrum Master? Chances are, if it's just a administrative role, probably will be replaced by AI. And then
also,
how do you show the value?
Yes, to add on to that, Bevan, because I've also seen too many be like, oh, it's not the perfect agile world. Oh, I don't have the title I want. Oh, I don't want to. I'm like,
how do you get
a Scrum Master, Agile coach, that's into Leandra's comment also, right, is you are a leader. You don't need a title. You don't need a certain space. It's your job to make it.
Yeah.
But I say we have to be a little bit insane to be Agile coach or Scrum Masters. Because if we do a bloody good job, we don't get credit, the team get credit. But if the team fail, we get blamed. So you have to find the success of making other people look good, because the sun will never shine on you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's an interesting thing, maybe it's a bit more controversial that I was thinking as well, is that the nice thing with the whole shift of trends from Agile to AI means that the people that are left in Agile that haven't made the full transition to AI expert after some LinkedIn courses, we focus on why are you still in Agile? And I thought about that a lot, and I was like, I mean, I know why I got into Agile, and I've said this for years. I think I've said it from the first meetup where we met, Malene. I think, what is that, 2016, 2017, was I'm not into Agile for Agile. I'm into Agile because at the moment, it's the most clear vehicle for enabling a excellent environment of work. Like, so from a people perspective, from a delivery perspective, all those kind of things. And there's a lot of things, but as I've learned and grown from a skills perspective, I've realized that it's not just Agile. In fact, the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I haven't focused on an Agile anything. I do still learn on there, but it's more things like organizational design, job architecture, understanding how organizations from a governance perspective legally have to have certain things that from an Agile knowledge perspective will actually slow things down, but for the right reasons. And are there ways around that, right? So it's more that. I still very much believe that work can be an awesome place and we can deliver awesome products with wonderful people. And yeah, the stress and uncertainty that people feel just becomes more spoken about and more open. Yeah, Robin is spot on. Humans, right? We are people. Cause of and solution to all of life's problems are people.
So, Bevan, if we also can say it the way I see it is, yes, there is a future for Agile, because without Agile, that's that guidance on how do we make a future for. We might stop using the word so much, it's a little bit overused. And then I still also believe there is a place for Scrum, because people need guidance. People need to know, where do I go tomorrow? But it shouldn't be married to the framework. So what I often do these days when I work with clients, I say, stop doing your stand-ups. Doesn't add value. Please just stop it. You're misabusing it and you're micromanaging people. Let's focus on getting you to work together to deliver. Then the need will come for your stand-ups, and then we can reintroduce it. But why if we truly are agile instead of being married to a framework, it's about not having waste. It's about delivery. Why are these two important? Because without that, we don't get paid, right? But then on the other hand, as the first principle in Agile, individuals' actions over in the process and tools, right? That means it's about the human. How do we still, and that for me, we haven't solved. We haven't understood to fully get companies to think about we work with humans and a brain, not a robot. That for me is really the trick. That's what I'm fascinated about these days, and what I am very much into is that whole thing. Like, is it a new kind of framework we have to create to guide companies? Then I'm worried about. No, let's not create another SAFe. Double shit. No, double shit agile framework. No. So that's this is the big question I actually think these days is that whole thing. How can we help company into a beyond agile? Because for me, agile is continuously get better.
Yeah.
On these aspects. And if we have that about continuously getting better, that will never get old.
Yeah.
Maybe a tool technique can be outdone, but that thing about always getting better. That should be strive for. Go for it, Bill.
Yeah, no, between what you just said now and what Robin's comment on the humans thing is that maybe this is too philosophical. I don't know. Companies don't exist. Like physically, they don't exist. They're made up by people, right? So there's the social construction of reality, and yes, it feels real and it can be. But when we talk about the company, for me at least, I refer to that system, the belief system that aligns that group of people in a company. But I have experienced that other people refer to the company as leaders or the exec or the managers in the organization. Hey man, they're people too. They're people too. And in fact, if you really dig into the Scrum Master set of accountabilities, there is an accountability to the organization. right? There is an accountability for you to also acknowledge that the executives that are there are human beings with wants and needs and fears and insecurities and all their problems. And I remember Malene and I used to talk about this a lot working together, was that your executive team is just a team. The same things that are tripping up your delivery teams, the same thing tripping up your executives. They don't speak to each other. And when they do, they don't speak the same language, right? So very much that same kind of thing. So if we see the entire organization as people and we value people, right, then how do we unlock delivery? Because that's what people want to see first and foremost, something visible that they can see through them. And the thing is, the moment you give that bit of empathy and compassion to everyone in an organization and you don't fulfill the role of it's us versus them, then yeah, you see things move a lot faster.
So I see the comment in the chat. Oh, that's the one that is big for me these days, about the Scrum Master has to facilitate. And I actually specific say that. In my recommendations, Scrum Guide doesn't say anything about anything, right? For me, it's actually all the events beside retrospective. So, okay, let me say sprint planning, sprint review, for me, a product owner should run. Daily Scrum is developer, retrospective is Scrum Master. So no, it's not, oh, the Scrum Master. But this is a misunderstanding. So I also let's face it, 99% of the Scrum Master job out there is a project manager with a flavor of Scrum Master. So what I normally say to people is, go take the job, but you transform it. You teach them, you upskill. Because they don't know better. So lately when I do not lately, I think the last 2 years when I've done my training certified Scrum Master, I do some high disclaimer. And one of my disclaimer in the training is, be sweet to the people around you, because you will get information on this training that they don't have. Because you will come back, especially if you already work with Scrum Master, right? Because I train you how it should be. I'm not here to train you what the world see. So it's difficult when you come back and see the world is not like this. But our job is then to take one step at a time. I love how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. We're not here to make the perfect world tomorrow. We're here to make it better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think, Ben, maybe also into this, let's do you know me? I like to be practical. So let's just sum up also. I know we have more time, but there is a future for Agile if it's done right and if it's focused on delivery and focusing on humans. There is a future for Scrum Master Agile coaches right now. Again, I can't predict the future, as we say, with that title still. The skills what we bring and what we do is needed. Here I want to say if, because there's still also a big misunderstanding of what does Scrum Master Agile coaches actually do. I know you and me, Ben, we very much agree on this. If you stop hugging trees and just talk coaching question and feel like, what is your feelings? Sorry to say, that's a waste for me. So there was a question earlier when we started, what skills should we have going forward? Be practical. Sometimes it is that we get our hands dirty. Wow, the amount of time I use these days on actually looking into data, making reported work on getting people saying, Malene, you're too much hands-on. Yeah, but if I don't do it, who does it then?
Spot on.
And if at least I can create the transparency so we can inspect that. I'm not saying I should always do it, but right now I do it so we can create transparency, so we can inspect and adapt. That's the core pillars of Scrum. If we don't have that transparency, we can't inspect and adapt.
Yeah. I don't think I can agree with you even more than that as well. Is that exactly? I mean, if people don't know how to do something, coaching them is the least effective way of doing it. How do you think we should do this? I don't think we should do this. Like, I don't think we should. Right. And it's always the joke is like, I mean, I've made these mistakes before as well, where, you want to make this like really autonomous thing because you're sold on the vision and you go to a team and you're like, cool, this is Scrum, blah, blah, blah. These are the events we're going to run. What would you like to do? You have the control. And what is the first thing they do? We don't want to do this event. We don't want to do this event. We don't want to work that way. And then suddenly now you're having to backtrack a little bit. So like sometimes you do need to be able to shift your stance, right? So you need to be able to identify in this moment right here, do I need to be more, hands-on, more direct and say, this is the way it's going to be? we're enabling constraints. There's a visual, which, oh man, I should have drawn that on Miro somehow. Sonia Blichner shared a really good picture that was aligned to that as well. So Malene's used it before as well. You're here, you want to get there. We want it to be a straight line, it never is, right? What I'd want to overlay on that is that there are organizational constraints, right? And essentially, if you hit those organizational constraints, you're breaking a rule. So some of them are serious, so compliance ones. Some of them are just, this is the tool set we use, right? So think of how much people love Jira. That's a constraint. You can fight that constraint as much as you want. You're fighting an organization. You will lose every time, every single time. Your mental health will decline, your everything. These are the constraints. After there, where we're going to, so imagine here's here, there's there. There are another set of constraints, and these are softer constraints. These are the constraints of goal alignment. What are we trying to achieve, right? So it gives us that direction. So now you've got a here, a there directionality, and you've got at least one side of them as organizational constraints, of which you have very little control, maybe some influence. On the top of this, so that it starts looking more like a cone, you've got the constraints you set yourself. And these are the ones that we vary up and down. That's where your frameworks come in, right? And that's how frameworks should be applied, is to say, hey, I'm going to bring in a constraint, but it's such a light one that we can always change it afterwards. So I'll give you some examples of the hard constraints that are so typical, right? That organizations follow from stuff like SAFe, etc. Quarterly planning. They don't do it because SAFe says so. They do it because it is a organizational thing. So quarterly business review is not created in Agile. It's existed all the time. It's a very well-known term. So again, how do we ensure that that constraint can be matched or met with our ways of working, right? So cool, API planning fits quite nicely in a quarter along with QBR, right? But surely we should be doing this kind of capacity-based planning before we go to commit to what we're going to be delivering, right? And it's small little subtle things like that. What can we change so that we can meet where the organization is running? And that's the hard part of the job, but it's also the most fun.
I lost my train of thought. I want to add something, but I forgot it.
You should know about that. My superpower is derailer. I have to like contract with people when I meet them the first time. I'm like, listen, I get very excited by things. So if your conversation's going there, I'm going to take you there. If you don't stop me, I'm going to keep going.
I think let's go back to the what can we do in the future, and there was also the question, what skills should we doing? I'm a practical person, and so me and Bevan have been on quite a lot of courses together, and Bevan knows as soon as people talk too much theoretical, I'm like, I even say you're a shitty trainer, or I'm like, why the hell are we here? Because all the theoretical is like, why? Yeah, it sounds good, but if you can't make it practical to me, how we can do it in our company, it doesn't add value. Yeah, it sounds good. So one of the thing I am standing strong on, and I've often got asked, why are you not a certified coach with Scrum Alliance, Malene, since you're a CST? I'm like, because for many years you had to have an official coach certificate. And I'm of that understanding, I don't need to have a professional coach certificate to do my job as an Agile coach, because I do not sit down and have one-on-one coaching about how are you feeling constantly. I do have skills. I have done coaching courses, so I can take the skills of coaching into it, but I'm not a therapist that needs to sit and talk about your feelings constantly. So I do believe, and there is brilliant Agile coaches out there that do have, but I'm a bit of a, no man, I'm not going into a meeting or a course and pay for it just because of something when it doesn't practically help me. I believe we have some coaches, Scrum Masters, that is going too much in that direction, too much being a coach therapist kind of thing. And I'm like, again, it's back to hugging trees for me. So when the question was, what should we do? For me, it's practical. I don't get paid to sit and talk about your feelings in company. I get paid to make a difference. Yes, on a long run, I will use coaching questions and stuff like that, but it's not what takes a company to the edge, have I seen. the courses I've been personally very happy about is like some facilitation courses, some coaching courses, upskill those skills, because it does give you a foundation on how do we work with people. Then I also think a big lag, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, Bevan, but now I'm going to. I know you and me have worked now, so we worked both, that's very transparent, we both worked for the same company for some time. And there you and me created a whole coaching model and how to do it and how to measure. What I actually find is many people don't know how to measure themselves. How can I show that I add value? So the part that I wasn't sure if I was allowed is me and Bevan had talked about we should write a book on this and we should make some mini courses on it. We're busy, but we're not there yet. But what I actually then very loudly wrote to Bevan the other day is, Bevan, I think I found our course that we actually want to make. So I know now nearly sound like a sales pitch, but so I am working on becoming a trainer of the course calling Scrum Better with Kanban, something like that. Yeah, Scrum Better with Kanban. When I saw that material first time, that was where I wrote Bevan saying, this is the course. This is actually what we were trying to create. That will be slides that they have said, I'm not 100% happy, but for me, what is out there right now, and if you should do something, there's actually 2 courses. It is actually that Scrum Better with Kanban, because it gives you how do I actually do this reporting kind of thing? How do I get data that we can find on? And we have reports on expect data on how delivery, so we soon can measure on how do teams become better. Not what we deliver, but how does team work? And how do you measure it so you can become better? And secondly, I will also recommend the AI for Scrum Master. They are the 2 kind of thing, like if I can see tool practical into what we do, instead of just talking about how do we feel it, what should I be doing? I would say those are the 2, because even though we say AI is just a tool, we still also need to know it, else we're behind. But I want to see AI as a tool. I don't see AI as someone that replaces me. AI does that I can do something quicker, write some stuff much quicker, brainstorm with somebody, all of that. So it actually makes my job a bit more fun and powerful, but it doesn't take my job. But I do believe that's the 2 main things. How can you figure out how to actually practical add value and how to use AI? Anything to add?
Two things I want to do. The second one is going to be the thing in the chat. Just that should be overly a quick one. But the first one is just kind of on the skills thing. So I've really loved. So part of the work that Malene and I did was we have very different interests, right? So one of the areas that I've spent a lot of time working with that I wasn't really as exposed to in the past was in learning and development, right? So my default approach is to go and study all the theory. And you can start seeing the trends that are emerging in the learning and development community, which is a focused on skills-based learning as opposed to job or title-based learning, right? So again, to build on the recommendation from Malene is to say what skills are going to be most effective to deliver the value that you're going to be providing, right? And is that aligned to what the organization wants as well? And then focus on those, like to Malene's point, those micro credentials, those short courses, those things. What can I do? Learn just enough to apply the skills, right? So I love talking about theory, but if it's not backed up with practical reason, then I will discount it. So like, again, first section you read in a research paper is what is their methodology and what are the limitations. So before I get sidetracked by the ineffectiveness of the Tuckman model, I'm going to jump to the Jira question. That could be another conversation I'm happy to go through. But yeah, so Brendan asked, should we be turning this constraint into something useful that makes our lives easier? The short answer is yes, absolutely. In my experience, the way to do that is mastery. So the best way to understand how you can make it more useful is to actually understand it yourself so that you can make it more useful. So just like we speak about practices and frameworks and becoming an expert in understanding and applying them, tools is right next to practices, right next to it. So same concept. Spend as much time investing in understanding the tools as you do the practices. and the people, because just in my experience, it's very neglected. We end up having to become a slave, for lack of a better term, to the tooling, instead of us being able to own it and have conversations with whoever the administrators are, whoever the owners of the tool are, and to say, hey, this is actually what will make our life easier, and this is what you're allowed to do in a tooling perspective, but also that will keep your constraint. Yeah. So it wasn't a nice answer, but was an answer. We did talk about this a bit in a previous session. I think I'll find a link for that and can put on
the recording is on our YouTube page. I actually found, just to make, again, I like it practical. So I think some of you have attended this talk from me, from fluff to impact. And these are the things I'm talking about when I talk about measurement. It's not about what we deliver, it's how we deliver. And this is work me and Bevan does, is saying, okay, what is lead time? What is cycle time? How do you deliver? And then actually what's powerful to me is outlining how does they work and what is the bottlenecks? Because now we can be concrete. Oh, you have here bottlenecks. What are we going to do about it? So I said earlier, right, stop doing a retrospective at what did we do well yesterday? What did we do well? Why don't take data like this in and saying, what are we going to do about it? Then you get much more buy-in from a team to say, hey, we didn't know we were so bad. Like I love the example we have here, Bevan, with this company has working items in progress just keep going up, and they don't deliver anything. I'm like, why do you keep starting stuff? Again, many people have the feeling here, right? But they forget to have the transparency. Many have the feeling we don't deliver, but they don't have the data saying, why is it we don't deliver?
My best is that as work items in progress increases, so does lead time and cycle time, and efficiency goes down, like almost at exactly the same time. It's just such a nice correlation. And it's interesting. So I mean, I use the dashboard. I've actually got a new version of it. It looks pretty cool. Again, tool mastery, right? I could wait for someone else to build the dashboards for me, or I can go and learn the tool and figure out how to do it myself. Which is kind of, you don't have to be a nerd. Find a colleague that is a nerd, which is what Malene has done, that does it. And that's what you need to do, right? Recognize the things that you are missing and work with others that have the rest. And the dashboard is great because we did it again with a brand new area that we were working with. And obviously after their first quarter, what was their throughput? 0. Nothing. So we shared it. And some people were upset. And I was like, well, it's the data. If you have a problem, go argue with the data. Is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. But, now we're shown as we're not working. I was like, oh, well, you are working. We all know you're working. Are you working on the right things? Right? If this is how you're being measured, if this is what success would look like, what do you need to change to get there? That's a much richer conversation than what's working well, what do we do differently? Not to say that, you can't run those kind of retros. They are kind of useful sometimes. But if you've got data, yeah. I always love that. We always refer to that, the 5 steps of a retro, right? It's the obvious thing in Dan Larson. Gather data is one of those things. And that's exactly it. It's not just gather data, isn't just gathering opinions, right? You should know my quote is, well, it's not mine. It's someone else's, but I love it the most. It's just, if we have data, let's look at data. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. So that's my quote. I want to get that tattooed one day.
This is the one you're referring to. This is how I design it to show it. I know that's not the Stabi picture, but the 5 steps, right? Where many think what didn't go well, what could we change? It's just, wow, that's the whole perspective. No, we actually need to gather data. Something a little bit of, so I'm always into this brain science, right? And I'm like, with the challenge of actually doing the what went well, what didn't go well. If you put that into a retrospective, you trigger the brain to focus on what it remembers the most. And the problem with that is the things our brain remember the most is often tied to highest emotions. So often if you've had a strong emotion to something in a retrospective, that's what in a sprint, that's what you remember. So that's what you're going to bring up on your board. But does that mean that's the right thing to change? You don't know that. Because now you just get everybody's high emotion up on the board rather than data. So think about that. I do want to sum up. We are in the end of the hour, and I have a short cutoff because I'm going to my daughter's first karate grading. So that's why we had short time. Sorry about that. I think that's why we lost some people on the, that's the most important thing, right? That's family. Let's sum up. So what we've been doing today, what is the future of Agile? Agile is more than ever needed if we take the truth of Agile, saying we need to create a place for humans, but it has to be about delivery. We have to stop just talking about feelings. We have to be practical, focused on actually doing a difference. I also believe we need to stop just all this fluff conversation and fluff theoretical stuff. If it's not practical, let's not do it. If it doesn't work, let's not do it. And that's the lean thinking into the Agile aspect, right? Why do we do something that doesn't add value? Stop it. Even if it's part of Scrum, even if it's part of we think, right? You maybe not mature enough to do it. That's the thing. Every people think, oh, every team can do Scrum. Scrum is actually from a very mature team to get the benefit out of it. Not to new team. There we have to change it to them. What's the future of Agile coaches, Scrum Master? There's a hope that maybe in the future there won't be the title itself, but I believe that will be a long time out there because we still love boxes. I believe that we have to start adding value. And if we don't start changing that, then no, there is no need for a Scrum Master. Same as Agile coaches, if you can't add value to your clients or your company, there is no need for you. But that's for any title you have. If you don't understand how to add value, it doesn't matter. On sum up skill set, Bevan, you put it so nicely, focus on upskilling skills rather on your job title. I mentioned something AI, of course. If you're a Scrum Master, the AI for Scrum Master, and then we will be offering in the future Scrum better with Kanban. That is this whole theoretical, I think it's a one-day course. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. We will definitely, from Agile Training Alliance, our aim is to, in the future, to offer many more skill-based, small micro-credential courses that can grow your skills rather of these, let's put you into a room for 2 days and give you shit. No, did I say that? To look out for that. I know Scrum Alliance also have that view going forward. They have already started to offer many of them, of my credentials, simply to sweeten, quickly get you some skills that is practical, not just, hey, let's talk about, I said that a lot, hey, let's sit in a circle. It doesn't mean those conversations is not important either. It just shouldn't have main focus.
Yeah. Yes.
But that is back to the whole. So again, the spine model. Now what I've talked to, if everybody didn't see the chat, so I didn't read it out loud. The spine model, right? That everybody gets stuck in the doing aspect. Let's implement that because then be agile. It's the easy one, right? It's easy to go and say we all do Scrum. It's easy to say we all do user stories. Doesn't make us agile. What I've seen lately is I use more time on not convincing people. I don't want to do that. I'm just there saying, what is the problem you have? Let's fix it. And if you think we should do stand-up, that is waste time, let's do it for now, because I don't want to fight right now. Let me just focus on something where I can add value instead of fighting you. So I also see Agile coach, Scrum Master be like, this is not Agile, this is not Scrum, this is not called that. But now I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot because I do get triggered when I see the word ceremonies, but I chose to stop pointing it out to people because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we call things, right? In the bigger end, yes, it probably do matter. But if I use my energy on having these small fights, I don't have energy for the big fights. And what is the big fight? That's the things that matters. And it matters to add value. So what I say is we need to go into companies and understand what is matters right now. Let's help there and forget about everything else for a moment because we can't do it all.
No.
I think that's my mic drop on the dot. Bevan, do you want to add something before we turn off for today?
No, I think these conversations are fun. Yeah, we have these all the time between Malene and I. Literally, we try to meet whenever we can so we can just talk about what's going on. and turn it into something practical, right? So yeah, if you've got other questions, if you've got other things, just ping us, like let us know, pop it on the Meetup group. Maybe someone else will benefit from the discussion as well. If you agree, disagree, like, you know, this isn't an echo chamber. We don't all have to high five and sing Kumbaya together, because one, Malene will kick us, and number two, that's not going to be useful, right? I think it's important that we really debate our value and find ways to help each other articulate that, and then just reconnect on, is that actually what we want as individuals? Yeah, that's my parting shot.
Thanks, Bevan. So me and Bevan, as Bevan said, we have these conversations often, and we chose to say, why can't the audience be there and get something out of it? So we do hope it add value. This is how our meetups run, very informal. We just want to share from our knowledge of what we have. So if you found this interesting, feel free to join us in the future. And also